Just going to move those people out of the way so I can just see a little bit more. Beautiful. Okay, I'm going to take myself and move myself over. Okay, again, if just welcome everybody, but if you have your, if you could just mute yourself for this evening, that would be great, and we'll be able to have a wonderful, wonderful webinar. Okay, awesome. Well, I just want to say how happy I am to be here with you this evening on our free webinar on menopause and weight gain. And we're going to have, I'm going to try to keep this not too long, but obviously I want to, educate and inform and just kind of motivate you to greater health. So sometimes I have a tendency to talk quickly, but feel free to, you could put your questions in the question box and we'll definitely be taking a look at all those questions afterwards. So I just wanted to let you know that this is actually the third time that I'm presenting this webinar. And the reason I'm doing that is because I've had so many people reach out to me. The first two webinars, I had a lot of people work with me individually, and we've had some tremendous success. And I think the sad part for me as a nutritionist is that I've had people, as a nutritionist reaching out and saying, I feel fat. I don't want to look in the mirror. I don't want to put my jeans on. I don't want to have sex anymore. My vagina is too dry. I want my husband to love me. I feel unattractive. And I feel that these are really incredible reasons why that we should be looking at this subject tonight, because there's so much information out there. And it's one of those subjects that women don't necessarily talk about. So I'm going to try to, get rid of all the mystery of menopause and educate you in a way that you'll be able to take away some tidbits and some tools to help your life get better. Because, this is definitely a time of our life that we all can be affected by. So thank you so much for joining me. And if you're here for the second time, thank you again. It's been so wonderful to work with so many of you people over the years. So my first thing is, who am I? Why am I talking about menopause? What is making us gain weight, and a solution? So who am I? I'm a nutritionist, and I've been working in the field since 1980. I'm talking about menopause because when I was 45, I entered perimenopause. I'm now 62 years old. I have managed to go through menopause in a graceful way. I did have problems with it, tremendous problems with it, in that I personally was getting my period every 2 weeks. I was waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I would stay awake till 5 o'clock in the morning. I was exhausted through the day. I felt terrible, and I wasn't understanding the true cause of it. So I did my own research so that I could actually just waltz through menopause, didn't gain the weight, didn't have all those experiences that most of us have. And so therefore, I really wanted to educate you and give you the tools that you can work with so that you can help yourself. I'm also the author of the book on confidence. I wrote that a couple years ago. I am a metabolic balance coach. I am a psychosomatic energetic energy practitioner. I am a live blood cell analyst. I am a life coach. I do food sensitivity testing. I do hormone testing. I do Dutch testing. So I basically, treat children to, women, men, all these people. But as I said, menopause is one of those things that really speaks to my heart, because I have so many clients coming to see me who are complaining with these symptoms, and they're looking for answers that are not able to find it in the traditional sense. So I'm hoping I'll be able to help everyone here this evening. So thank you again for joining us. So we know menopause is actually not a disease. And we know that most often the symptoms are blamed on the decreased production of estrogen and progesterone. So we'll talk about what that's all about, because those are the two main hormones that are responsible for this. And contrary to popular opinion, menopause, again, is not a disease, but it's a normal process in a woman's life. I was doing some research this evening before I got on here tonight, and before 1950, women never complained about menopause. But because of the way we eat, because of our life, because of the stress, so many people are experiencing more and more of these symptoms, and we'll talk about what's causing that and how we can actually improve that to help your life too. And of course, menopause is a time when there's a mental, emotional, and physical, spiritual need that's nurturing. It's almost like you come into your own. I don't know about you, but I feel, when I was younger, I wasn't really, I didn't really feel strong in my own emotions. But as I get older, especially going through menopause, I feel very strong about how I feel and what I want. And also really kind of taken back my own power for physical and spiritual nurturing, which I think are two really important things that we need to do. We also know that menopause involves hot flashes, night sweats, memory problems, fatigue, weight gain, loss of libido, headaches are all blamed on the decreased production of the hormones, when there is a true cause is imbalanced where the true cause is an imbalance in the adrenal glands and the liver, and of course the thyroid as well. So we'll talk about that. Okay, so we have here the two main hormones that are involved with the menopause. One is called estrogen and one is called progesterone. You've probably heard about that. And we know that estrogen is the hormone that is playing various roles in the body. In females, it helps develop and maintain both the reproductive system and the female characteristics of the breast and the pubic hair. Now, sometimes what happens in the world is we either get high estrogen or low estrogen. And when you get high estrogen, you may experience things like acne, not having a period, mood problems, swelling, tender breast, weight gain, and all these can come from the environment, birth control pills, liver congestion, which we'll talk about tonight, and even stress. And low progesterone, which is a little bit different, can lead to, and not often as common, to bone loss, hot flashes, insomnia, joint pain, low sex drive, brain fog, night sweats, vagina dryness, even dry eyes. Things that can cause the estrogen to be too low is actually going through menopause, and also excessive exercise. I've had a lot of clients who are heavy weightlifters, and that's affecting not only their estrogen, but also their cortisol levels. And it can also affect if you can have low estrogen if you have, you're severely underweight. But ladies, this does not have to be your reality. We can balance out estrogen and progesterone so that you can literally find that the menopausal, the premenopausal, and the menopausal symptom, perimenopausal, are all going to be much easier for you once you understand the true hormone responsible for everything and what's behind all of this and what is causing so many of your problems today that you're experiencing. And of course, we also have two more hormones. One is testosterone. We heard about that one. That's the one that gives us that real sex drive. It's an androgen, which is produced in the adrenal glands and also in your ovaries. And then, of course, there is something called DHEA, and that also is made by the adrenal glands, and it gets converted to testosterone. So testosterone itself, males have it, females have it, and we need that. We want that nice balance between estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, and the DHA. Those are the four main hormones related to all what we're speaking about this evening. And then, of course, there is this lovely thing in our world, and that's called perimenopause. That your hormones actually really do start to shift as early as 35 years old. And that can cause menstrual irregularities, breast tenderness, brain fog, insomnia, weight gain, hot flashes. And then there is menopause. I used to make a joke to my husband. I know it sounds funny. It's, pause on men. So menopause, which is the total cessation of the menstrual cycle. And that can also lead to, if the body is not functioning optimally, if the thyroid gland is not functioning, if the adrenal glands are not functioning, if the pituitary gland aren't functioning, if the hormones are out of balance, then this is the symptoms you're going to get. Because I'm sure you know people who sail through menopause and other people are really, really affected by it. And there's a reason why. And we'll talk about that this evening. So menopause can lead to bloating. It can lead to that weight gain, particularly around the tummy, which we'll talk about. Increased blood pressure, facial hair, you know, the hair that grows out of the moles on your face, which is nasty. I don't know about you, but I've certainly seen those over the years and I'm quick to pluck those out. Hot and sweaty feet, not being able to sleep. Sleep has a lot of other reasons. Vagina itch and even vagina dryness, low libido, so that's your low sex drive, mood changes, and brain fog. A lot of people think brain fog is just that their brain's not functioning, but it's the whole symptoms of the menopause. So we can't actually think properly because you have to think of the whole body is working as an orchestra and everything needs to work properly. And if something's off, then it's going to cause, there's an old saying, if there's if there's mist in the pulpit, there's fog in the pew. I remember one of my friends said that to me. So brain fog. So if there's a mist out there, then it's going to cause a fog everywhere else that we're talking about as well. And then of course we have our hormones. So basically hormones are chemical messengers that are secreted directly into your blood, which then carries to your organs and tissues. And you have over 50 hormones that your body produces, and they put you to sleep at night. They wake you up in the morning. They control your blood pressure. They build up your bone. They maintain the muscle tone. They lubricate your joints. They govern your growth. They make your body produce energy and heat. They burn fat, and they also allow pregnancy to occur. And it's something we don't even think about. We just think that the body's going to function, but we often underestimate how important it is to consider that staying healthy is a full-time job. And I really say that with my heart, because in this day and age, with the way that we're consuming food and the stress and COVID and everything, really staying healthy does require us to make health a priority and to not take these things for granted, because they all have to work, because hormones are so critical and so important so that everything in your body functions optimally. So never underestimate the power of your hormones. And there are, I call these the 7 dwarfs of menopause. So you'll find your skin gets itchy, your vagina gets itchy, you can become bitchy, you can become sleepy, you can become sweaty, moody, bloated, forgetful, all dried up. I mean, it's a little bit coarse, but definitely I think that if you're going through menopause, you might be experiencing some of these. And again, I say to you that these do not have to be your reality. There are definitely things that we could do for it, especially even in the itchy part. You know, a lot of this has to do with your essential fatty acids. The bitchy has a lot to do with the nutrition. The sleep has a lot to do with your adrenal glands. The sweat has a lot to do with your adrenal glands. The forgetful has a lot to do with your essential fatty acids. All dried up has to do with your hydration and your essential oils, or not essential oils, but like things like, you know, olive oil and coconut oil and flaxseed oil. These are all really beneficial so that you don't have to experience some of these horrible symptoms, because nobody wants to have the 7 dwarfs of menopause. So the main reason we're having symptoms, as I mentioned earlier tonight, it's due to the imbalance in your adrenal glands, which sit on top of your kidneys, your liver, which sits on top of on the right side of your body. So your stomach is on your left and your liver is on your right. And then, of course, your thyroid, which sits right in the neck here, and then your intestines. So we're going to look at all 4 of these things tonight and talk about how are these glands affecting your menopausal symptoms, because they're all related and tied into each other. And if one is off, the other one is off. Remember, hormones is like a symphony. We need to make everything work really, really well for ourselves. I love anything to do with adrenal health. And I'll tell you why. When I was in my 30s, I ran about 6 marathons, and I was addicted and I was exhausted. And one of the things I learned after, and I've never run ever since then, I stopped when I was 40 years old. I found that at the time it was extremely incredible to run this long distance because it gave me such a high. But what I didn't know at the time was that it was exhausting my adrenal glands. And this is what we do, women, today, is that you and I are pushing the envelope. We're trying to work full time, raise a family, run around, maybe go to the gym or work out on heavy equipment. And we're doing things that are so much different than our mothers did. I mean, I came from a family of 9 children. My mom didn't even have a car. And she basically stayed home and took care of the kids, but she wasn't actually running around doing all that extra stuff. But we as women today are doing so
She
much
put my
more
name,
of that.
June, past time. She put back my name.
Oh, somebody's got their, can you turn your mute button on if you don't mind? I can hear somebody's mute button. There, they're perfect. Okay. So for me, the adrenals got completely wiped out. And when they get wiped out, you experience some of these terrible symptoms because the adrenals release sex hormones and they are the stress response hormones. So it manages your blood sugar, the fat accumulation, it lowers your immune system if your adrenals are exhausted. It could cause fatigue. And of course, your adrenal cortex, which is on top of your kidneys, it secretes both the female and the male hormones, the estrogens and the androgens during transitional years when your ovaries are on vacation. And when we become stressed, our adrenal glands literally become wiped out. And that's going to definitely affect our sleep, causing headaches, allergies, dizziness. And you have 2 systems in your body. So think of your health. You've got what they call sympathetic and parasympathetic. And the parasympathetic, just going to move that for a second. The parasympathetic is the nervous system that basically rules your rest and digest. And the sympathetic is the, there we go. Sorry. Yeah. Hang on a second. I just have a little technical thing here. Just trying to move something out of here because I need, there we go. Beautiful. Okay. So the parasympathetic is the rest and digest, and the sympathetic is your fight or flight. So your body is like a car. You should have 1 foot on the gas and 1 foot on the brake. So there should be a nice ebb and flow as you go through life, but you don't want to be with your foot on the gas all the time. And you don't want to be with your foot on the, you don't want to be your foot on the gas, and you also don't want to be exhausted. So there's a nice little balance, and the adrenal glands are responsible for making sure that they don't put too much cortisol. And we know what cortisol is. You know, when you're driving your car and somebody cuts you off in traffic, all of a sudden you get that surge of adrenaline. That's adrenaline. But if you have long-term stress, then you're going to be releasing too much cortisol. And that's going to cause the fat accumulation, particularly around the tummy, the blood sugar problems, the exhaustion, and the fatigue. Okay. And then, of course, there is our liver health. And your liver, again, it sits on the right side of your body, and it has more than 500 functions. An overburdened liver has a decreased ability to break down excess sex hormones, especially estrogen. Therefore, you get excess estrogen in your system. Now, I want you to think of the liver is almost like an airport. So if you have 150 people come off the airplane and you have to go to the area to pick up your suitcase, there's 150 pieces of luggage. So remember that 150 people have to pick up 100 pieces of luggage out the airport. But what happens with the liver, now you've got 300 people coming off the airplane because everything gets backed up. And you've got this huge traffic jam because the liver is like a filter. And we need to make sure that the nutrients that we have in our body are able to detoxify the liver. That includes water, that includes vegetables, that includes fruit, that includes a healthy exercise habit, includes so many functions. And it is the major cleansing organ of the body. And our diets are too acidic today. And when our bodies are too acidic, it's very hard for the body to clear all of these things out. And then estrogen can back up in the body, especially in the fat. So it's really important that we make sure that the diet is really healthy, live, lots of fruit, lots of vegetables, which we're going to cover in a short period of time. Then we have your thyroid. Now, if you don't know where your thyroid sits, it sits right in your throat, and it's a butterfly-shaped gland at the front of your neck that regulates your body heat and your body metabolism. And you may have heard of hypothyroidism or hyperthyroidism. You may have heard of Graves' disease, which is hyper, and you may have heard of Hashimoto's, which is hypo. So hypo means low, hyper means high. And when the thyroid is hypo, you can experience things like cold hands and cold feet, constipation, fatigue, depression, a slow metabolism, and even with a hyper, increased appetite, heart palpitations, the goiter, and you'll also have maybe some nervousness and some anxiousness. And most people who have the hyper have a tendency to also lose weight. I had a client recently with hyper, or actually Graves' disease, and we were able to correct it by doing the program that we're going to be talking a little bit about later on. And that goiter is that big lump in your throat here. We also know that the thyroid is connected to communication and how we express ourselves. So there's definitely an emotional component to your thyroid. And of course, there's an emotional component to all of our health, because there's 4 factors that affect our health today: diet, chemicals, electromagnetic radiation, and emotional health. And the emotions actually play a huge role in how healthy we are and how happy we are too. So it's important to not underestimate the power of emotional health as well. Now, I have over 200 clients that have come to see me with hyper and hypo, more hypothyroidism. And the reason the thyroid is affected so much is the thyroid is like the second garbage can in the body. So it just collects a lot of toxins in here. But the things that affect it and why it's affecting us so much today is from preservatives, because they disrupt your endocrine system by changing and competing with naturally occurring estrogens, which can cause weight gain. Then there's the pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, as well as added growth hormones in dairy and animal products that can bind to the hormone receptors in the cell and blocks your body naturally occurring hormones from binding. Alcohol affects sex drive and testosterone and estrogen levels. And of course, plastic bottles are endocrine disruptors. I'm a big believer in the 80-20 rule. It's what you do 80% of the time that's going to matter the most. And I'm also a big believer in no microwaving your food, because that disrupts the food in an unnatural way. I mean, I had 3 children, 3 boys, and I never used a microwave for the entire life, and I never use it at all. I do have one, but it's only storing and keeping food away from my cat if I'm trying to defrost something for the day and just leave it in there. I don't use any plastic bottles and no artificial sweeteners. And of course, you know, these Febreze fabric sprays that people use in their house, these are all affecting us on some level. If you want some kind of natural smell in your house, all you have to do is leave some lavender out or get some essential oils, because that's going to make your room smell a lot nicer with not you having it affect your endocrine system. And endocrine system, again, is affecting all of your hormones. Then there's the pituitary gland, which is a small bean-shaped gland at the base of your brain. It's behind your nose and between your ears. And it is the master gland that regulates all the hormones in the body. So he's the conductor, or she's the conductor of all the hormones in the body. And nutrition plays an extremely vital role. The pituitary gland is responsible for your growth, for your reproduction, and for your blood pressure, but it needs to be nourished in the way that nature intended. We can't feed the pituitary gland with fast, frozen, fried, junk or processed foods, which we're going to talk about. You can, but it's not going to work as well. So, you know, I was having a discussion yesterday with my assistant, and we were talking about racehorses, and that these people who raise race horses, they have an incredible, impeccable diet. They also take a lot of supplementation as well. And they eat pretty much fruits and vegetables and hay. I mean, it's a natural, clean diet. They're not going to McDonald's and having a burger, because in order for that body to function, for the muscles, for everything to function, it needs to have optimal health. And again, I said, I'm all about the 80-20 rule. It's what you do 80%, because I think you still have to have fun in life. I want a piece of pizza and chips too myself sometimes, but it's what we do all the time that's really going to impact our health in the most wonderful way. So what works? You know, people try HRT, people try all kinds of vitamins and supplementation. And I'm not saying these things don't work. I don't recommend HRT because that comes from urine, and I don't even know if you can buy it and get it anymore, but it comes from horses that are in stalls, and they just take the urine from the horse that's been in that stall for their whole life. And there's other definitely side effects from that. But, you know, there are supplementations, there are supplements that are out there that can help people. But what truly can work for people today is what I call nutrition intervention. Nutrition is something that is often overlooked. We go to the grocery store, we buy our groceries, we basically, you know, maybe sometimes unconsciously just buy stuff because we have to feed the kids, we have to feed our bellies and run out the door. And in the old days, we, you know, I was taking my kids to baseball and hockey and football and all that. And I have to say, I wasn't lily white on that, but I do know that the type of nutrition that we get as an adult and as a child definitely impacts our level of energy, our level of sleep, our level of hormones, and our level of menopausal symptoms. So it's something that we really need to take into consideration when you're going to the grocery store to make sure that that grocery cart is full of healthy foods. And what's odd is that when I go to the grocery store, mine is just full of color. Like it's orange and greens and purples and blueberries and raspberries and strawberries and oranges and sweet potatoes and, you know, maybe some chicken or some nuts or some meat because I like to have a little bit of meat. But it's very colorful versus the other types of food. There's very little lacking in color. And what I notice also too is that I have a rare like a grocery cart because most people are not buying that kind of stuff because they're addicted to the types of foods that are being sold on in the world today. So I kind of say that we live in a world where burger is the king and dairy is the queen. My father used to say to me, Jane, you can't say that. But I said, well, I am going to say that because, you know, it's advertised all the time. It's cheap. People think that eating this way might be a cheaper way to eat. But actually a bag of apples and bananas and pears and carrots is actually cheaper to eat versus this. So we live in the world where burger is the king and dairy is the queen. And what that does, it creates for us the 5 new food groups, which are frozen, fast, fried, junk, and processed. So if you look at all these foods, typically they're beige, they lack water, they lack fiber. You can't take a poo. They usually are coming in a bag, a box, a pickup window, a vending machine, or a barcode. And I also think that if they have to pass a chemistry lab on the way to your mouth, then it's not healthy nutrition. So we really need to take a look at these because these foods are going to make you very tired. They are not going to supply your body with the nutrients to make your hormones work, and they're going to aggravate your menopausal symptoms. Now, during a cycle for a woman of 28 days, if we overeat some of these foods like chocolate and candies, that when you do get your cycle, you might feel terrible, bloated, your boobs hurt, everything hurts, is because it's the accumulation of these foods and the body's not able to detoxify properly. So we need to look at what type of food are we really consuming all the time. The problem is with these food is that it's causing us to gain weight during menopause or perimenopause or after menopause. And we're going to talk in great length about this, but ladies, size matters. And we're not talking about that size. We're talking about your waist size. So if you're a male and your waist size is more than 40, and of course we're talking about females tonight, and if you're a female and your waist size is more than 35 inches, then you are predisposed to something called metabolic syndrome. So metabolic syndrome is a name given to heart disease, diabetes, cardiovascular problems, high cholesterol, high blood pressure. This is all causing what we call too much visceral fat, which we'll talk about. So it's really important to note. So if you actually were to take a measuring tape and wrap it around your belly button, if you have more than 35 inches at your waist, then you're going to have more menopausal symptoms. And the idea tonight is to teach you how we can get that number down. When you actually take a measuring tape, 35 inches is not a lot, really, when you think about it. But it's also a marker. It is a scientific marker for metabolic syndrome, which is affecting our healthcare system today, and it's putting us at risk for these types of diseases. So it's important to know what it is. Also, understanding hormones when it comes to eating and to, our food. There are other hormones that are affecting your menopausal symptoms, and they are ghrelin, leptin, insulin, and glucagon. So ghrelin is that hormone that turns on when you're hungry, and it's the hormone that makes your stomach kind of just roar just before you eat. Leptin is the hormone that if you eat something, you'll feel satisfied. The problem is if people have too much weight, they will turn off their leptin receptors because your fat will turn this off. So leptin makes you feel full. I love watching my 600-pound life. I love to see the transition in people. I love to understand the psychology of why they're getting to be this big. I love to see who's enabling them to actually get this big. And I love to see how they can actually, lower their weight by going on a lower calorie diet or doing whatever. But they are always hungry because they have turned off their leptin. And then insulin, and I want you to make a note of this. Insulin is a fat storage hormone. And this is causing so many menopausal symptoms, which we'll talk about in a moment. And then lastly, there's another hormone called glucagon. So glucagon is an antagonist of insulin, which basically keeps insulin levels down. And we'll talk about how that works for you. Now, why am I talking about insulin? Well, we know that insulin is a fat storage hormone. We know now today that there are so many people with type 2 diabetes. There's a difference between type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes. Type 1 diabetics do not make any insulin. They're born with that. So their pancreas does not make insulin. They have to take insulin for the rest of their lives. Type 2 diabetes used to be called adult onset diabetes. But we now know today that this is completely a diet and a lifestyle problem, and it's affecting more and more children today that is causing them to have type 2 diabetes. And I will say this absolutely 100%. I have personally turned people's type 2 diabetes 100% around by changing their diet and teaching them how they can turn that insulin off, because insulin is causing a huge problem for people. And if you ever think you might have insulin insensitivity, you might be really thirsty, you might have some like dark on the back of your neck, and you're always hungry. But it also causes your blood pressure to rise. You're going to get blood fat abnormalities, abnormal immune system functioning, acne, your ankles are going to swell, constipation, decreased memory, concentration. And really, truly, the problem with diabetes, because people think, oh, well, it's no big deal, I'll just take some insulin. But here's the problem. Type 2 diabetes can cause your eyes to become blind. It can cause your feet to have neuropathy. It can cause your circulation so poor that you're going to have to potentially have amputation. Diabetes is a nasty thing, and it's completely 100% controllable, that we can manage it for you. So we want to make sure that we decrease our insulin levels in our body, and we're going to talk about how you can do that right now. Insulin is also, you might be thinking you're having menopausal symptoms, but actually it's the insulin that's causing the problem, because it leads to depression, it causes fatigue, it causes irregular menstrual cycles, the irritability, the sugar cravings, the water retention, the weight gain, especially around the middle. And also, let me just talk a little bit about these sugar cravings. If you think about it, from your mouth to your bum, you have one pipe. And inside that pipe, particularly in the large intestine, you've got bacteria. You've got good bacteria, you've got bad bacteria. You've got the ratio of 80 good, 20 bad, and we want to keep those ratios really healthy that way. But when you eat too much sugar, you change it. So now you've got 80 bad and 20 good. So the minute you eat something sweet, you activate these bacteria that tell your brain that you want more. You might have heard about this, where it's called, the words just escaped me for a second. What's that word? Can't remember. I'll think of it in a second. Yeah, can't remember. Anyways, it just forces you to eat. What is that word? It's on the tip of my tongue. Anyways, it causes you to really crave the sugar, and you can't just have one bite. You have to eat the whole thing. So that's because you have a disproportionate amount of bacteria in your gut. And what destroys that bacteria in your gut is coffee, chlorinated water, alcohol, stress, age, and sugar, of course, is going to destroy all that. And that your health is really important to keep healthy down there, because a lot of diseases can start in your gut area. And ladies, we have what we call 4 types of fat. So you've got brown fat, subcutaneous fat, white fat, and visceral fat. And that brown fat is the one that burns calories and generates heat. I live in Toronto in the beaches, and from December until now, there are people every weekend swimming, literally swimming, have their hats on, they have their mitts on, but they wade or they swim in the water. And what they're doing, because there's nothing else to do these days, is they're trying to turn on their brown fat, because brown fat burns a lot of calories. Babies are born with lots of brown fat. That's why they're a little bit chubby, but it's more of a protection. Most of it's in your shoulders. Then you've got subcutaneous fat. That basically supplies your skin with oxygen, and it's a fat we could pinch at the side of our body. We don't like it, but it's not dangerous. And then we have the white fat. That cushions our organs and also contains that leptin. So if we have too much white fat, or if we're obese, then we're going to turn our leptin off. And remember, leptin is a hormone that tells your brain that you're full. And lastly, we have something called the visceral fat. You may have heard of that. It's becoming much more, doctors are talking about this much, much more, as it provokes inflammatory pathways. It wraps around your organs and causes problems. It puts cytokines into your system, and that visceral fat leads to all the problems in the body. And the reason the visceral fat is there is because there's too much insulin in the bloodstream. There it is. Nobody likes it. And this is what makes me really sad today. I mean, I literally got an email from somebody yesterday saying, you know, I can't wait for this webinar. I just want to feel good about taking my clothes off and having sex again. And because I know for me, if I have any extra fat, I just work to get rid of that, because I don't like it either. And it doesn't matter if you're carrying 2 pounds or 10 pounds or 30 pounds, it matters to you how you feel, because for some reason, when we go through menopause or perimenopause, that fat accumulates right there. And that's the one that we're going to be targeting tonight, because that's the one that's making everybody have a problem and nobody likes it. And I think, you know, we need to understand how we can get rid of that, because you'll feel a lot better when you do it. There it is. Yeah. So what can we do about this? There are solutions that you can do about it. So as a nutritionist, I want to talk to you about something that I have been working with for almost 9 years now. And that is a program called Metabolic Balance. So Metabolic Balance is a program designed to lower inflammation, to balance out your hormones, and to help you either lose weight, gain weight, or maintain your weight. How does it work? Metabolic Balance is created and exists currently in Germany. This is the headquarters around the world. It is in 44 countries currently. I own the license in Hong Kong, because even though they don't necessarily have a weight problem, they do have a diabetes problems, and they do have other diseases, because all hormones are, you know, weight can affect all your hormones. It's a program that is designed to take a look at your complete health history. So when my clients walk in the door, I do a complete intake with them. I weigh them. I weigh them on a machine that can also weigh how much fat is in your arms, your legs, and your torso, how much muscle is in your arms, your leg, your torso, your BMI, which is your body mass index, your percentage of body fat. And ladies, your percentage of body fat needs to be 20 to 30. Your BMI needs to be below 25. And it also even measures your age. So we do this intake. I also measure the size of your waist, the size of your hips, and the inner thigh. Then what I do is I give you a requisition and you go to a lab. And when we go to the lab, we actually get 35 of these blood markers. And then we add we get the blood markers, we get the personal health history. Now, I've done this for clients with leukemia, Parkinson, lupus, people who have Graves' disease, Hashimoto's, people who have migraines, headaches, perimenopausal symptoms. They've had a hysterectomy. All of these can work. Diabetes, type 1, type 2, diabetics. All this information from the blood values is married to your personal health history. So Metabolic Balance Germany then creates you a personal plan that's based on your personal health history. So for instance, if you have a high CRP, which is C-reactive protein, this means there's a lot of inflammation in the body. So then the food that they would give you would definitely be, they analyze all these, the blood values and the personal health history. And then what happens is they are able to generate a individualized, a customized program that is designed to lower insulin. Remember, insulin is a fat storage hormone, and our insulin levels are too high today. If you had a coffee with cream this morning, your insulin levels are going to be high. If you had a bagel and cream cheese, what's going to happen? Your sugars are going to go up and then they're going to come right back down. When your levels of insulin are high all the time, you are going to gain weight. You are going to affect your hormones, and all your menopausal symptoms are going to be aggravated. So the software analyzes it to give you the best biological valued foods and the lowest glycemic index. In English, biological value means what is in that food that's going to feed your body and organs in the best possible way. So it's going to be the most dense food. So it won't be fast, frozen, fried, junk, or processed. It won't be beige. It'll be food like chicken and nuts and seeds and eggs and poultry and healthy foods, colorful foods that basically do not elevate your insulin in your body. But they give you a combination of food that is the exact protein, the exact carbohydrate, and the exact fat for your body chemistry based on your blood values and based on your personal health history. So if a person has migraines all the time, or they've got, I don't know, adrenal stress, they're going to give them foods that are going to bring that down for each individual. And what happens then is that each client gets a list of food that they're going to be eating. The benefits is that it's low in sugar, it's low in salt, it's going to balance out your hormones, it's going to help with the weight loss, but the most important thing, it regulates all the hormones. Remember, we talked about the pituitary. He's the master gland, but insulin is affecting everything in your body. And I grew up in the 60s. There was not one fat kid in my school today, in those days. And today, all you have to do is walk down the street and see how many people are carrying this extra weight. It's because of these foods. I am horrified when I go to Loblaws or any of these big grocery stores, because 90% of the stuff that's on the inside of that store is full of sugar and full of salt. Tastes good too, but it's not nourishing your body and it's spiking your insulin. And when you're young, you don't notice it. But when you get older, it's going to cause problems for us. Even today, people are getting macular degeneration. Do you know what that means? That's oxidative stress on your eyes. Why? Because we don't have enough vitamin A, we don't have enough vitamin E, we don't have enough vitamin C, we don't have enough of these antioxidants to protect our body from the simple things in life, and even from the sunshine. We should be able to protect our bodies, but more and more of these diseases are occurring. So metabolic balance gives us this entire plan, but the most important thing, what it does, it changes the way insulin works in your body. So remember I said that insulin is a fat storage hormone. And the doctor who created this program, whose name is Dr. Wolf, he created these 8 rules. And if you follow these rules today, you will notice that your hormones are going to balance in your body. Number 1, you have to have 3 meals a day. Now, why do we do that? Because a lot of people are doing intermittent fasting. Problem is they don't know how to do it properly. Secondly, when they do it, and they have 2 meals a day, by the second meal of the day, they're so hungry that they overeat in the evening, and that's a problem. So it's 3 meals a day. Now, when I went to university, they used to tell us to have 6 meals a day. But that was the science of 1980. Today, the science is 3 meals a day because you want insulin levels to go low. After each meal, you're going to take a break of at least 5 hours before you start the next meal. Why? Because if you're always eating, insulin is always up. And if insulin is always up, it is the fat storage hormone, you're just going to gain weight. So you remember how, during COVID at the beginning, you had your dinner and then you got a glass of wine, then you got some chips, and then you got some cookies, and then you're eating from 8 o'clock or 6 o'clock to 8:30. So insulin levels have been up really, really high for too long. And that's a problem with that. And trust me, we do not need to snack. Children, yes, that's a little different story. But as an adult, there is enough nutrition to keep us going for those 5 hours between meals. I work out 2 hours a day and I never have to eat a snack between meals because I feel totally satisfied because I follow these rules. We also don't want any meal to last longer than 60 minutes. Why? Because we want to make sure that insulin levels come down quickly. You're going to start all meals with 2 bites of protein because having 2 bites of protein releases not insulin, but glucagon. So if I woke up this morning and had an orange, then I'm going to have my insulin levels high. But if I woke up this morning and had a little bit of cheese or a little bit of yogurt or a little bit of chicken or a little bit of almonds and sunflower seeds, then I will release a hormone glucagon, which is an antagonist of insulin. And what's interesting about that, if you have 2 bites of protein before you eat anything else, you actually will feel more satisfied in your body and you'll eat less foods. You're only having 1 protein at a time, and you have to choose a protein from 3 different sources. So 1 protein at a time. So bacon and eggs, ham and cheese, that's a problem because I'll give you an example. An egg, which is one of the most nutritious foods on the planet, has a biological value of 100%, which means if I eat that egg, I'm going to get human protein in my body very quickly. However, milk has a biological value of 91%, and protein is made up of amino acids. So the egg is 100, the milk is 91. But the body will take the food with the lowest amount of amino acids, which is the milk, and you're going to be left over with 9% left over. And that's going to cause over-acidification. And you can tell if you're over-acid, your hair will be gray, you feel like shit, pardon my French. And if you look at your fingernails, you're going to have lots of ridges in your fingernails. So we only have 1 protein per meal and 3 different proteins a day. So maybe it's eggs, maybe it's chicken, and maybe it's nuts, or if you're a vegetarian or you're a vegan, you take 3 different proteins. So you could have some sprouts, you could have some legumes, and you could have some nuts. So we don't want to have the same protein. A lot of us have chicken for lunch and chicken for dinner. We want a greater variety of foods. And ladies, we all tend to eat the same 11 foods over and over again. Problem with that is that we're limiting our nutrient density, like the denseness of the other foods, and we're not actually getting everything that we need. We don't want to eat after 9 o'clock in the evening. And you have to drink 35 milliliters of water per kilogram of body weight. So I try myself between 2 to 3 liters of water a day. Yeah, you'll pee a lot in the beginning, but your skin will be amazing. Your liver will love you. Your joints will be lubricated. Your eyes won't become dry. And lastly, an apple. The Dr. Wolf, who created it, said that there's no other fruit that lowers your uric acid and lowers cholesterol like an apple. And that type of apple would be more of a tart apple, like a Granny Smith or a Macintosh or an Ida Red or a Jonathan or a Gravensteiner. Those are the apples that are best for us. Ones that turn brown once you open up, that's called enzymatic browning. So these are the rules of metabolic balance that change insulin, which change your hormones in your body. Now, what happens after the clients come in, do this full intake health history, they go to the lab, they get their plan, they come back, and then they start their program. And what they're given individually, and I've done over almost 1,000 of these, each person gets their own program. So they get a template. Now, remember, we have to follow the 8 rules. So each person also has the opportunity of taking food off their plan, but they can't put food on their plan. And the food is there's easy foods to eat. These are not things that are difficult to find. So this person, as I'm using an example, you do have to weigh your food because, again, it's the exact science of protein, fats, and carbs. So it's not low fat, it's not high carb, it's not low protein, it's not ketogenic, which is mostly protein and fat, which causes havoc on your triglycerides and your cholesterol. Not to mention, it's really hard on your kidneys when you consume that much protein. But then you get an exact template based on your health history. People are not hungry. You feel amazing when you start this. So for instance, This person has 225 grams of yogurt, fruit, and bread. If you look at that, like they're having 2 pieces of fruit. Most clients of mine have 3 pieces of fruit a day. And a lot of ladies, they think, oh, I don't want to eat the fruit. It's going to make me fat. It's not going to make you fat, because when you mix yogurt and your fruit and your bread all together in your stomach, you lower the glycemic load, which means that your sugars stay like this all day versus what's been happening all day. So many of my clients have to have like 6 meals a day. They're always hungry. They're always they're not sleeping properly. They have all these hormonal issues. Their menopausal symptoms are off. But as soon as we manage their sugars and bring insulin levels back down again, they feel so much better. And the cravings for salt and sugar literally disappear. So you can see that second breakfast is cheese, vegetables. So on the following page for each individual client, they would get a list of foods. So they'd get a vegetable list, they get a cheese list. The bread is only 100% rye bread or 100% rye Vita crackers. And the reason is because they have low glycemic. So think of food, when I talk about glycemic, it burns like straw or it burns like coal. So things like white bread and ice cream are just going to shoot your sugars up and you're going to have hormonal problems. Things that burn like coal would be like rye bread and almond butter, or rye bread with avocado and piece of chicken on top of that. That's going to burn long in your tummy, and the longer it burns your tummy, the better you're going to feel. So you'll have a breakfast, a lunch, and dinner. You have to wait 5 hours between meals. You do have to weigh the food, but people love that because it's the discipline. Actually, it costs way less money to eat this way. You're not eating out. I personally, over COVID, have probably ordered in 3 times, because every time I order in, it just tastes terrible. Because when you start eating this way, you'll feel better. Now, the nice thing about it is so in the beginning, you have minimum exercise for 2 weeks, no oil. We just cook with water and veggie broth. On day 16, we add 3 tablespoons of oil, lots of exercise, 1 treat meal a week. You can eat and drink whatever you want, and ground flax seeds. And the oils can be olive oil, coconut oil, flaxseed oil, avocado oil. You can cook with it. You can just drink it. I actually like to use a 369 oil in my yogurt. I find that it's really good for my hormones. It's also really good for my skin. And also that for sure to not make your skin dry. So the beauty of this program is that it's real food and it's perfect. There's no pills. There's no supplements. There's no shakes. There's no cravings. Now you can turn your breakfast mango yogurt into like a shake, but you have to have 2 bites of protein first. So that's the problem with shakes. I used to make shakes for years, but the problem with the shake is you've got these whey proteins and these pea proteins and all these combination of proteins. Then you put the fruit in it. It's like your body is taking in the sugar so quickly that your pancreas has to release so much insulin. And when your pancreas is releasing so much insulin all the time, your cells become insensitive to insulin. So that's what we're trying to do, is to bring the insulin levels down so that all the hormones in the body can work much better for yourself. So it's an easy program. People love it. I just got actually a text message tonight from one of my clients who actually was on my last webinar. And I just want to read you what she sent to me. Her name is Angie. And she said, where is it here? Where did it go here? Just thought you would like to know that I hit the 30-pound mark today. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. You've got 15 to go. She says, no, actually, I only have 10, which is great. She says, I haven't felt this good about myself in a very long while. And it feels so great. And she is loving every second of this. So these are some pictures of some of the clients. This lady lost about 80 pounds, and she's turned into one of my really good friends. She did work out. And what's interesting is that she worked out all the time. And when she came in for her weigh-ins, she used to get weighed on the scale with no underwear, no bra. And I have to tell you, honest to God, she didn't have 1 ounce of hanging fat because she worked out through the whole time. So that was an amazing success story. This is a very good friend of mine. Actually, she started the program last summer. She's almost at 60 pounds, and she resisted doing the program because she's a chef, and she didn't know how she was going to get around it, but she was experiencing all those menopausal symptoms. And you can see that this was at her 50-pound mark. I'm just waiting for the 60-pound mark. She feels amazing and empowered, and I'm thrilled to death for her. This is another client of mine, worked as a nurse, and basically all she did was follow the plan, and she got on the only exercise she did was the rowing machine, which is amazing. She did that every day and very happy. You can see the nice thing about it too, is that when your hormones are balanced, when you actually achieve optimal weight, your face changes too, because you look younger. Because don't forget, remember, if there is extra tummy fat, that causes inflammation. Now, you think of inflammation as something red hot and burning, but inflammation causes everything to swell in the body. And I'm sure you've all seen somebody walking down the beach with a big tummy and it looks hard like a rock. That is just so full of inflammation. And when we have inflammation, we just don't feel good. So she lost 56 pounds. This is a couple that I worked with. He had fatty liver disease, diabetic, and he was also high cholesterol. His doctor told him that he was an alcoholic, and he said, I'm not an alcoholic, I don't even drink. And it turned out that he had non-fatty alcoholic liver disease, which is caused by too much sugar in the diet. And she, of course, lost a ton of weight. She's a nurse. They loved it. Their biggest complaint about doing this program, she was doing it for hormone balance. He was doing it for health reasons. His biggest complaint was he had to buy a whole brand new wardrobe. And I always say, you know what? If you have to buy a whole brand new wardrobe, that's the least problems. Yeah. But once the people lose the weight, it's important that you get rid of those clothes because you don't want to have to ever go back to that. But you can see that there's such joy in people's faces once they actually, get there. This is my client. This picture was just taken yesterday, and I got this all prepared for you today. Just felt terrible, no energy. She said to me, I didn't even want to look in the mirror. I really felt bad, and 36 pounds. And you can see the youth. I mean, her hair is longer because she can't get her haircut right now, but she's so thrilled and we did this all through Zoom, and it was amazing. I'm so happy for her. So the Metabolic Balance program actually there's 8 sessions. You get 8 sessions with me. It involves full blood work at the lab. We work with Life Labs. We do have a medical doctor on staff. His name is Dr. Ira. Dr. Ira will communicate with me as a coach if there's anything wrong with someone's blood work. I did a plan yesterday for a woman, and we found that she had extreme hypothyroidism. So they wouldn't let her do a plan until we got her on medication. And that's the neat thing about this, because so many times you go get your blood work done at the lab, the doctor tells you everything's fine. Well, I worked in a doctor's office, and I got to tell you, stacks of blood work, no one was fine. I've never seen hardly anybody's blood work to be fine. So as a nutritionist, we go through it, and then the plan is created based on that blood work. And having a doctor work on our side is really advantageous. So if you have any questions or you need extra support, we've got that. And you get your individualized plan. You get unlimited text and email support. And if you know me, I am really good at this. I am really invested in people's health. I am really invested. And I think, at the core of this whole webinar, I guess really for me, it's about self-love and self-worth. I'm going to just say that right now, because I think it's criminal to not feel good about your body. And if you need to do something to fix it, then I think it's important to do it, because I think it's sad that women don't take their health back, that they think it's normal to feel crappy when you get older. I have more energy than my kids. I'm a grandmother of 3 kids. I can get on the floor and I can crawl faster than those kids can. And all of that because of the nutrition and the support that I've been getting from all the healthy things that I try to do. And I try to stay balanced and, walk and exercise and, read books and have some fun. I mean, obviously I have a busy job. Been married for over 40 years. And it's important to maintain that self-care. It's so important for self-care, and it's so important for our self-love and our self-worth, because I just think it's so sad. You get a full starter kit, which includes a food scale, because you do have to measure your food. You get a cleanse. We give you a cleanse that you drink on the first day, and then you eat either rice, potatoes, vegetables, or fruit. You get the 2 breads, which is the rye Vita crackers and the rye bread. You get basic tabs to make you alkaline, and vitamin D. The doctor wants everybody on vitamin D, and up to 5,000. And guess what? The link between COVID and vitamin D is unbelievable. So I have been taking vitamin D, 5,000 international units for years, and touch wood, haven't had a single thing for like 3 years, not been sick once, nothing, and feel very protected. So that whole program, it is basically normally $1,600, but for tonight, what I'm going to be doing is offering it to you for $14.99, and that's going to be for the 3 days. So if you want any information on that, you can email me, Jane@creativehealth.ca, or you could even, if you want to call me in for a free 15-minute consultation just to go over it, I'd be happy to answer that if you have any questions, because a lot of people think that, you know, they might have a little health problem that might be challenging. There is no health problem that's challenging. I mean, I've got 2 Parkinson people right now. I've got 2 people with leukemia, and both of them have lost over 40 pounds doing this program and suffering from menopausal symptoms. Also, as of today, literally today, I opened up on my website my store. This took me over 20 years, and I was kind of a bit in a hurry. And if you want to go there and shop, I'm going to give you a 10% discount, and the code you would put in there would be webinar. So if you are interested in that, please go to my shop, take a look around. There's all kinds of things that can support. Like B vitamins are great for, you know, all the menopausal symptoms. You know, basic tabs will make you alkaline. The more alkaline you are, the better. Digestive enzymes really help with your whole digestion. Iron supplementation to really get your iron levels up, because so many people feel so, but you can take a look and you can browse around at that. So now I am going to take a look at some of your questions. I'm sure you have lots of questions, so let me just grab some of those. Okay, so basic tabs are a pill that is basically sodium, calcium, magnesium, and potassium. And what they do is they make your body alkaline. Your body has to operate in an alkaline environment. The pH of your system, of your cells, is 7.3. So something like pop has a pH of 2, so it makes you very acidic. When you drink pop, or you drink too much coffee, you drink too much alcohol, then you need to, your body becomes acidic, but your body then has to neutralize those acids. And the only way they can do that is to take out of your own bloodstream calcium, magnesium, potassium, and sodium. So basic tabs replenish your body. So people take 3 pills in the morning and 3 pills at nighttime. And if they're on medication, we only take it once a day because they will interfere with that. So that's what the basic tabs are all about. Now, if you want to unmute yourself right now, and if you want to ask a question, feel free to do so. Can I go out of the stop sharing? Okay. If anybody has, yeah, you can also post your questions in the chat box. But if you have any questions, you can unmute yourself. Anybody have any questions tonight?
Jane, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Karen.
Okay, great. I do have a question. I am 47, so probably premenopausal soon.
Okay.
I know that a lot of this is focused on, you know, the menopausal stage. Would this be something ideal for me at this point? I'm very physically active. I find right now I've come to this point where my body's sort of just on a plateau, and I've got like, you know, between 5 and 10 pounds. I just would love to be able to get off my body, and I really struggle with that. And I know eating is not as good as it should be.
The earlier you start this, the better.
Oh, okay.
100%. Because what's amazing about this is that when you start to work with this, and when you start working with the rules, they become so second nature. So I used to travel a lot. I was in Hong Kong like 4 times before the COVID. I never worried about putting weight on because I just followed the plan. And I also was able to, you know, eat whatever I wanted and drink from time to time, but always coming back to the rules, and then the weight just kind of just stabilized. So the earlier you start, the better this is.
That's fantastic. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello?
Yes, hi.
Hi. Sorry, I have a question for you. I'm 52 years old.
Okay.
And last year, when I at 51, I did tummy tuck. And in the beginning, it was really good. It was really and right before that, I had my period. So, but after the surgery, my period stopped. So after that, I started like it for a few months. It was awesome, but now I started gaining weight the same area.
Okay.
And a lot of people are telling me that this is because you just did that around the time that it was your menopause. So that's what's happening to you. So I was just wondering if this is, and I'm fit. Used to be very physically active, but not anymore as much because of the COVID. But it's just that all of a sudden, like all my hopes are gone because, you know, I did the tummy tuck and all of a sudden I'm gaining it back, and just really frustrating.
So the reason you're gaining it back after you've had a tummy tuck is because you didn't change your diet.
Mm-hmm.
You changed your diet because remember, fat likes to be stored. So the fat cells are stored in your body. With a tummy tuck, they take some of this excess fat off. But if you don't change your diet, then the fat's just going to come right back again. So the tummy tuck can work for you if we change the diet, because you've had the physical procedure for sure. But we now need to actually get insulin levels down so that the tummy doesn't put the weight there.
Sure.
I hope that helps you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Basic tabs. What is in the basic tabs? It's just sodium, calcium, magnesium, and potassium. I have weight gain, but also anxiety disorder, which contributes to high cortisol. Yeah, you know, emotional stress. Think of your brain and your spine as your central nervous system. Remember, your body is like a car, resting or digesting back and forth. But the body's also like a duck on the lake. And it looks like the duck is having this, you know, just a nice gentle flow. But below the surface, there's so much, you know, tension going on. So human beings, particularly women, we can fall into too much anxiety, too much nervousness, exhaustiveness, or hyperness. And when there's too much anxiety, you have too much cortisol. So one of the things I do for that is I work with psychosomatic energetic medicine. And I specifically would recommend that you would take a actual remedy called Anxavita. Works absolutely